Sigashegu Sembatia to bring you this morning's news update live here on channel 44 on the 10th of February 2023. Well, we'll start with what's happening around us here in Uganda. As released in the papers today, best UCE students named, 11 pages of profile lists of star students and district rankings inside today's New Vision. Get yourself a copy and see which the top districts, the best UCE students, and very many others in regard to the UCE results that were released yesterday. The New Vision also brings you, I was under pressure to increase budgets. That's according to Byarugaba. MPs suggest since the money was illegally paid to the fund, they should recover it. This is about the NSSF saga and board remuneration, illegal contributions, among others. Byarugaba says, I put the money in the budget. It was approved, but I refused to release it. As a managing director, I did not see it fit to do such a thing. That's according to the former NSSF boss, Byarugaba. Education Ministry to probe high dropout rate, 50.3% of the 349,459 candidates who sat for UCE, 175,768 were male, and 49.7% of the 349,459 candidates who sat for UCE, 173,691 were female. This the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Mrs. Janet Museveni, has raised concern over acts of examination malpractice and school heads who misappropriate the UNEB registration fees, which aspects, she said, have negative impacts on the education system. Mrs. Museveni emphasized that the ministry will not tolerate examination malpractice. Details are in today's New Vision. 12 Dutch farms arrive for Harvest Money Expo, and why you must read Green UG pullout. Museveni meets sports commentator Walker, commended Uganda's hospitality, saying Ugandans are welcoming and accommodating. He thanked the president for the warm welcome. The president of Uganda is seen over a Uganda Athletics Federation official tracksuit jacket as he hands it over to Walker. Well, details of this story are in today's New Vision, and I know Sabasumba will bring us details of this story in our sports news segment at 11:30. In Butaleja, 60 rescued. Security raids another camp. This is not the first time the ADF rebels have pitched camp in eastern Uganda. Well, off to the Daily Monitor. On the front page of the Daily Monitor, they bring you many students who have passed highly in last year's UCE exams that were released yesterday. They bring you UCE best school students, school ranking based on Division 1, UCE top students. It's all in today's Daily Monitor. And also the Daily Monitor brings you whistleblower in NSSF, probe contradicts self. Experts blame special needs, poor grades on few teachers. Lakeside SS gets 7 first grades at maiden sitting, and very many other stories in today's Daily Monitor. Get yourself a copy and you'll get to know what is happening around us. Now I will be joined by Livingstone Kawesi for sign language interpretation and translation. Well, I will start with what's happening in South Africa. The President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa's 2023 State of the Nation address was interrupted by jeering from one opposition party, leading to chaos in Parliament in Cape Town. As he stood up to start the speech, a group of members of parliament attempted to drown out his speech before being asked to leave the House. A group of MPs from the Economic Federation Fighters, EFF, then attempted to storm the stage while some carrying placards and were forced out by security guards in dramatic scenes. Procedures were then suspended. Still in South Africa, the president has declared a state of disaster to try to deal with an energy crisis. Cyril Ramaphosa's announcement came last evening and gives the government additional powers to tackle the crippling electricity shortages that have worsened in recent months. He insisted South Africa would emerge with more efficient energy network. The president was making an annual address to Parliament, which was repeatedly disrupted by the opposition. There was chaos in the chamber before the speech, and at one time members of the Economic Freedom Fighters stormed the podium before being forced to leave. Mr. Ramaphosa also said access to the Witness Protection Program for whistleblowers that exposed government corruption was underway. That brings little relief to those whose relatives were murdered for exposing maladministration. To address the rising cost of living, Mr. Ramaphosa extended the relief funding, which is earned by more than 8 million unemployed South Africans. In neighboring DRC, civilians in the eastern region of DRC are fleeing their homes near Goma amid fears that M23 rebel group are advancing. There are reports that the Congolese army has been fighting the militia near the town of Sake. Tens of thousands of people have been displaced in recent months after the Tutsi-led rebels launched an offensive. 10 years ago, the same group was chased out of the eastern DRC into Uganda and Rwanda. Rwanda's government has been accused of supporting the M23, but it denies it. Rwanda has for many years criticized the Congolese authorities for failing to disarm Hutu rebels, some of whom were linked to the Rwandan genocide. In Europe, more than 20,000 people are now known to have been killed in Monday's earthquake in Turkey and Syria, though the UN warns the disaster's full extent is still unclear. Freezing conditions threaten the lives of thousands of survivors who are now without shelter, water, and food. Turkey's president called the quake the disaster of the century. A major international relief effort is gathering pace. Yesterday, the World Bank pledged 1.7 billion in aid to Turkey, including immediate finance for rebuilding basic infrastructure and to support those affected by the earthquake. The top humanitarian aid agency in the United States government has pledged $85 million in urgent life-saving relief for earthquake victims in Turkey and Syria. The U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, funding will go towards shelter, cold weather, supplies, food, water, and health care. The moves comes as countries around the world send such crews and aid to the region where over 20,000 people have died. Rescuers say supplies are needed now or more people will die from the cold. In a statement yesterday, USAID said it is also providing hygiene and sanitation assistance to keep people safe and healthy. A suspected Chinese surveillance balloon that the U.S. shot down this week was able to collect communication signals, according to a U.S. official. It was equipped with multiple antennas capable of intelligence collection operations, according to a senior State Department official in a background briefing. Yesterday, U.S. lawmakers passed a non-binding solution condemning China for the balloon. China has denied the balloon was used for spying purposes. It has said the balloon was a weather device blown astray. Elon Musk's SpaceX company has performed a key test on its huge new rocket system, Starship. Engineers connected what's called a static fire simultaneously igniting 31 of 33 of the engines at the base of the vehicle's lower segment. The firing lasted only a few seconds, with everything clamped in place to prevent any movement. The Starship will become the most powerful Operation rocket system in history when it makes its maiden flight. This could occur in the coming weeks, assuming SpaceX is satisfied with the outcome of yesterday's test. In the United States, former U.S. Vice President Mike Pence has been issued with a legal summons to testify in a criminal investigation of former President Donald Trump. The subpoena is reportedly linked to Mr. Trump's bid to overturn his defeat in the 2020 presidential election. Department of Justice Special Counsel Jack Smith is also investigating Mr. Trump's handling of classified files. The subpoena piles pressure on Mr. Pence as he considers a potential White House run against Mr. Trump in 2024. Failure to comply with such a summons could lead to serious legal consequences. Nicaragua has released 222 of the 245 opposition prisoners it was holding. The freed prisoners, who are critics of President Daniel Ortega, were deported to the United States. The U.S. Department welcomed the move, which it said had been made unilaterally by the Nicaraguan government. Among those freed are opposition politicians who had planned to run against Mr. Ortega in the 2021 election, but who were jailed in its run-up. With his fiercest opponents in prison, Mr. Ortega won a fourth consecutive term in the election. He has been in power without interruption since 2007. The UK's withdrawal from Afghanistan was a dark chapter for the UK, according to senior conservative Tobias Ellwood. The Defence Committee, led by Mr. Ellwood, is urging the government to hold an honest inquiry into the UK's departure from Afghanistan, which led to the return of the Taliban power. The MP's report warns the country is again becoming a haven for terrorists. They also say thousands of people eligible for evacuation in the UK are still living at risk in Afghanistan. Responding to the report, the government said it worked tirelessly to safely evacuate as many people out of Afghanistan as possible. Well, that brings us to the end of this morning's news update. Thank you for watching Channel 44. I remind you that we are still helping the people of Karamoja. Join us as the Robert Kayanja Bucket Initiative as we send help and save our fellow Ugandans that are in the northeastern region. So far, what has been done has been great. Thanks to Pastor Robert Kayanja, Pastor Jessica Kayanja, and the Robert Kayanja Ministry partners. We are changing Karamoja for the better, and soon it will be able to, she will be able to distribute food to the region and to the nation. You can send your seed to the numbers that will be availed in the services, or you can bring your seed here at the Miracle Center Cathedral. Hand it over to Pastor Robert Kayanja during the revival services. You'll be tremendously blessed. Alternatively, you can bring your seed to the church reception. You'll be given a receipt for accountability, and your blessing you will go with your blessing. The Pastors Now program is up next. We'll return at 12:45 with fresh news updates. Stay tuned to Channel 44, and God bless you.